today. My name is Lisa Legier, and I'm with the Financial and Consumer Services Commission of New Brunswick. And I'm here to talk to you today about staying out of fraud's reach. And I'm going to start the presentation with a little bit about who we are at the Commission, so you have a better idea about the types of things that we look after. So we're your financial and consumer services regulator. We protect more than 850,000 New Brunswick financial consumers. We regulate collection agencies, door-to-door or direct sellers, funeral providers, real estate agents, loan and trust companies, insurance companies, financial planners and investment advisors, payday lenders, credit unions, and even more than that. So if you have a credit union account or a mortgage or insurance coverage for your car, or if you are involved in an investment or a real estate transaction, then that means you are a consumer of financial services. So what we do on a day-to-day basis is respond to consumer questions. We handle consumer complaints. So if there's something that you feel is wrong with your interaction or your engagement with someone in an industry we're responsible for, then we would look into that complaint. We conduct what we call compliance reviews, and that's to make sure that the people working in the industries that we're responsible for are following all the New Brunswick laws. And we do what I do in educating consumers and businesses about their rights and responsibilities. So my main job is that. I travel around the province offering presentations like this, helping consumers understand what their rights and responsibilities are, especially when they're protecting themselves against fraud. So one way that we want to help protect consumers is to educate them on the warning signs. Unfortunately, scammers often target newcomers who may be not as familiar with our financial services. And that's when a lot of the times you get taken advantage of, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the more common scams that target newcomers specifically. But even in saying that, I want you to know that everyone is at risk of fraud, not just newcomers. So never ever feel embarrassed that you've been a victim or you've been an attempted victim of fraud. Oftentimes people don't want to report it because they don't want to admit they were tricked out of their money. But frauds, I guess, affect us all different ways: on the phone, in text messages, at your door, in the mail, in emails and online. So the more we learn about the warning signs, the more we can protect ourselves. And I really want to be clear that that's what the goal is of this presentation. It's making sure that we learn how to prevent the fraud from happening. Once it already happens, it's very, very hard to get your money back. It's hard to find these people afterwards. So the more that we learn how to avoid or have it not happen, the safer we're going to be. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So again, I want to stress the goal is prevention. And I think the more knowledge we have, the more we know, the better we're going to be able to avoid fraud. And I put this question up, and I just want you to think about it, even if you don't answer it within the class. Most of you, some of you may have been a victim of a fraud, but it's more likely that you know of someone who's been a victim. And it's really just to show you even more that it's happening all around us. And even if it didn't happen to you, it's likely happened to someone that you know. And learning these warning signs will help you not be a victim. So the first scam that I want to go over is one that often targets newcomers. It's the Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, or the IRCC, phone scam. Usually what happens is you receive a call on the phone where you might be identified by name. So they may even say your actual name. And they pretend that they're with the IRCC. And they tell you that you've either failed to complete or register for certain immigration documents. They might tell you you didn't pay all your fees or that you have a fee that's owing. They may say that you're going to face deportation, or they're going to take your passport, or it'll affect your citizenship. But remember that it's not a real person from the government calling. So there are a few warning signs here that can help protect you. The first one is if they ask you to act right away, or they tell you that you can't discuss this with anyone else. That's a warning sign that it's likely a fraud. The IRCC does not contact clients over the phone to tell them that they owe any fines to avoid deportation. That would never happen. The IRCC encourages individuals, if there's any fee that you have owing for anything, you would pay it through a bank, or you would look up on their website what other options you have. So it would never be something that would happen over the phone. And they would never ask you to make payments by prepaid credit cards or gift cards or through private money transfer services, which we would consider, or we would call, unusual methods. If you get a phone call like this and you're worried that something's wrong, hang up right away. Do not give them any personal information. And go to your own sources of information, either your own paperwork to find a phone number to contact, or your own search on a website to find the IRCC. Never trust the number that's left in a message or on your caller ID or a number that they tell you to call back. So that's very important. If you have questions, go to your own source of information, call that number or visit their website and proceed to ask your questions that way. Because when you answer a message over the phone that's left for you, you can never be 100% sure who the person is that's going to get the information on the other end. So hopefully that's clear for everyone. The next one is Canada Revenue Agency. Very similar scams. It's usually someone pretending to call you from the CRA. They will say you owe the government tax money, and if you don't pay immediately, you could be arrested or have to pay fines. In another kind of twist to this, or another way that they use the scam, is you can receive a text message asking you to call them, and they provide you with a phone number. Again, this number is fake and it wouldn't be from the Canada Revenue Agency. Both immigration and the CRA, if they want to contact you, it's going to be through a letter. You can also receive an email or a text message saying you're owed a refund from the Canada Revenue Agency. And we see this often during tax time, which in Canada is usually end of March into April. So March, April, May is when tax season is, and you're going to see more calls like this at that time. If you receive an email or a text message saying you're owed money, oftentimes there's a link in the message, and if you click on it, it'll take you to a website that looks like the CRA, but it's not real. And if you enter personal information, like your bank account number, you have just given your information to a scam artist. So again, there are some warning signs here. The Canada Revenue Agency, they'll never call you and ask for any information over the phone about your passport, your health card, or your driver's license. They will never demand immediate payment by an e-transfer, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, prepaid credit cards or gift cards, like I mentioned with the immigration one. They'll never threaten you, and they'll never leave you voice messages that are threatening. They're never going to send you a link for a refund, and they won't send you a text message either. If they want to reach you, they will send you a letter. And even if you get a letter, my tip would be to still go to your own source, go back to your own paperwork, look up the Canada Revenue Agency online, and reach out to them that way so that you're sure you're getting to the right agency or the right government department. When you just answer messages or emails sent to you, again, you can't be sure where it's going. So we want to make sure that you're dealing with the right people. The next one I want to talk about is door-to-door sales scams. In New Brunswick, and these laws are specific to each province, you can always look on our website to learn more about the specific laws for the different industries that we're responsible for. So door-to-door sales, or we also call it direct sales, includes sales by individuals or people who sell at parties you host in your home, and by salespeople who knock on your door. So anyone coming to your home to sell you something, either a product or a service, They have to be licensed with the province, licensed with the commission. And this is under the law in New Brunswick called the Direct Sellers Act. They're supposed to carry their license with them or provide you with a copy of it if asked. And as part of this licensing process, we at the commission make sure that the direct seller that's coming to your door has had a criminal record check, that they have the qualifications or the education to sell the product or service that they're selling. And this helps protect consumers against fraud that way. So your first step when someone comes to your door to sell you something is to ask them if they're licensed with the province. You're within your right as well to ask to see their license. On the next slide, I'm going to show you what the license looks like. When you buy any good or service, so any product or service, for more than 100 Canadian dollars from a direct seller, they have to provide you with a contract. So they should give you paperwork that you can read through and make sure you understand exactly what it is that they're asking you or selling you or asking you to provide information about. So this applies to any individuals or people over the age of majority or 19 years old in New Brunswick. So for example, youth selling services like lawn care or raising money for school fundraisers, they don't fall under this legislation. But people coming to, say, fix your roof, install heat pumps, do water testing, sell you telecommunication services, they all have to be licensed with the province in order to do that work. Before you sign a contract, you should definitely read it and fully understand all of it. Never sign a contract on impulse and always get a copy. Make sure the contract is signed by you and the salesperson. You actually have a 10-day cooling off period, and that's what we call it, from the day you receive the contract or statement of cancellation. So within these first 10 days, you can cancel that contract and you don't need a reason. So it's very important to understand that as well. The only problem with that is that if they've installed something and you get a refund from it, there could still be fees that you won't get all of your money back. So again, this is why it's really important to read the contract. If there are language issues, show it to someone who can interpret it for you, but be very, very certain what it is you're agreeing to before you sign. Always ask to see the salesperson's license. We want you to be checking that it's not expired, that the seller is representing exactly what it is they're selling on the license, and that it's been signed by the Director of Consumer Affairs. So again, I'm going to show you what that is on the next slide. But here are a few things to remember when reviewing a direct seller or door-to-door contract. Number one is don't let a seller pressure you into buying or signing a contract on the spot. Have the salesperson sign the contract before you do. Read and check the contract details, like the date and the price, before you sign. Don't commit to payments above what you can afford. Always keep your deposits small and never pay in full upfront. And ask about and compare cash price, the credit price, if there's any warranties or service fees. So as a reminder, direct sellers have to be licensed with us. They should carry their license with them. If someone knocks on your door trying to sell you a product or service, like a water softener or a heat pump, ask to see their license. It's one great way to protect yourself. And then you know that the commission has done a criminal record check on them before you let them into your home. When you buy a good or service of more than $100 from a direct seller, they have to present you with a contract. Take your time to understand it. Make sure you know what you're buying and paying for, and ask for a couple of days to review it. If you sign the contract and the next day you're not sure, you want to change your mind, you have that 10-day cooling off period from the day you receive the contract. If the seller gives you a difficult time about canceling, then you can call us. And remember that there are still salespeople who use high pressure sales tactics, and they can be aggressive in their nature, so they can be pushy. Consumers may find themselves in a situation where they purchase a product or sign up for a service that they didn't really need or want because they felt pressured. And we really don't want that to happen. Some common door-to-door scams that have been reported to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center include people pretending to raise money for charities, investment opportunities, or services involving the sale or maintenance of an appliance. We've often heard of scam artists offering to check homes for mold, and then they give you a fake report that says your house has mold, and they offer to fix it for thousands of dollars. So that's a couple of examples. Again, remember, ask lots of questions, take your time, make sure you understand what it is they're selling, what you're agreeing to before you sign the contract. So this is what the license looks like. It will have our logo on it. It should say Direct Sellers Act. It should have the salesperson's name and address. It should have the name and address of the business itself that they're working for. And it should have the product or service that they can sell. There's definitely going to be an expiry date on the license, so you want to check that. And they're supposed to renew it once a year. You can verify this by checking on our website or calling us at the commission. And if you go to fcnb.ca, so fcnb.ca, and maybe I'll get Victoria to put it in the chat for you. You can reach us that way. You can check our site yourself. Or again, if you're not seeing it, you're having a hard time, you can always call us and we can check for you. I often tell participants at my sessions that if a seller comes on the weekend and we're closed and you're nervous about if they're real or not, you can always tell them, I will take your information. I want to reach out to the commission on Monday to make sure that your license is valid or real. And a legitimate or real business should understand and respect that. But if they're a fraud, then you probably won't hear from them again. So that's one, I guess, kinder way for you to tell them you're not interested if they're pressuring you. So at this point, I usually ask a question. So again, I'll put it out there in the group. Door-to-door sellers should have a license from the commission to sell goods and services in New Brunswick. And if we were on the chat, I would be hoping everyone will say true. So they definitely need to have a license to sell goods and services in New Brunswick. So next up is employment scams. And of course, one of the first things you do as a newcomer to Canada or New Brunswick is you're looking for work. There's lots of job sites that are legitimate or real where people post their resumes when they're looking for work. And employers search these websites to look for candidates that'll fit their positions, but so do scam artists. And sometimes they can pretend to be an employer wanting to hire you. Often in a scam, they send an email with a job offer that's really too good to be true. And in many cases, they say they're setting up a new location. They want you to be the office manager, for example. They might tell you they need you to order and pay for office furniture or office equipment for the new location. They'll send you a check in your name and they want you to deposit the check in your bank and wire it to their furniture provider, and they'll give you an account number. But the account number is not a furniture provider, it's the scam artist. So how this scam works is that you go to the bank, you deposit the check into your account, and then you ask the bank to send the money to that employer. And then the bank does this, but in a couple of days, the bank learns that the check was fake. And now the money that you wired wasn't really your money. So the warning signs of this type of fraud is a real employer will never send you a job offer without first wanting to interview you. And they won't ask you to deposit a check into your account when you're asked or ask you to wire money to another account. If they're asking you these kinds of things, it is very likely that it's a fraud. Fraudsters also create fake job postings for people wanting to work or move to Canada. They'll often use the names of companies that actually exist in Canada and ask consumers to complete applications. These applications might ask for personal and financial information that the scam artists use to fraud you. Usually right away, they'll tell you congratulations on getting the job, and you get contacted by someone claiming to help them even with the immigration process to move here. So these frauds can be very sophisticated and sound very real. And if you're not from here and not familiar with how employment market works, it can feel like it would be true. And that's why we really want people to understand that that isn't the way you would get a job typically in Canada. Again, they could contact you about a job. They may say that they can help with the immigration process. Sometimes they make up titles like that they're from the Canada High Commission, or they'll tell you they're from Immigration Canada. They might ask you for money for different reasons to get passports or permits or visas. And oftentimes newcomers send them money before they realize that there's no job. So to make sure that you're getting proper information, you should be looking at the Government of Canada Job Bank. You can visit Immigrate to Canada page on the Government of Canada. So if you go and find that information yourself, type in Immigrate to Canada and make sure you're on the Government of Canada webpage. That's where you're going to find information that will help you with travel, study, work, immigration questions that way. No one can promise faster immigration application processing or guarantee you an approval. If someone does that, it's likely a fraud. And if you choose to pay for a service, you need to understand that exactly what it is you're receiving for the money before you sign anything. You should read reviews from employees and contact that company's human resource department to make sure the job really exists. So do research into that company as well. If it's a fraud, people will likely talk about it online as well. So although when you come to a new country and you're looking for work, it can be tempting to fall into these scams where it seems like the job is real. Do your homework first. Make sure it's a real company before you give them any information. Another scam that often targets newcomers is the emergency scam, or it's sometimes called the grandparents scam. And often this scam is the person either pretends to be your loved one calling, and it could be your kids, your grandkids, your nephew or niece. They're calling saying they need help. Uh, they're in trouble and they need money to get out of jail, or they need money for medical attention or something of that nature. Or the reverse of that is that the caller says that they're the police or they're a hospital and they have your loved one with them and they need either financial or personal information in order to release them from prison or treat them at the hospital. And again, this breaks my heart because it's making victims of newcomers in the sense that you may not understand or even know that that's not how things operate in North America, let alone Canada or New Brunswick. If you need medical assistance, someone will treat you here and you wouldn't have to pay a fee. If you were in, if the person was in trouble, let's say in jail or something like that, if that actually happened, you are better off to hang up the phone and call someone that would know where that person is and if they were in trouble, instead of just giving information to someone on the phone that you don't know. And sadly, this fraud victimizes many New Brunswickers, and oftentimes it's newcomers. So again, even though you might be scared and thinking something's happening to your loved one, hang up, call someone that you trust that would know what the situation is before you give any information. Unregistered or unlicensed scams, whether you're getting a mortgage, buying insurance, making a purchase at your door, or even investing in your future, the professionals you deal with may need to be licensed or registered with the commission. And most of the people who work in these industries are fair and follow the rules. Licensing and registration adds a layer of protection because the commission will only register or license those that meet the requirements in the laws in our province. And as I mentioned before, it can include criminal background checks, education requirements, and more. So the first step is always check licensing and registration. And again, you can do it on our website or you can call us. I want to touch on rental scams. Definitely beware of online advertisements for housing rentals. We see a lot of this happening to newcomers as well, looking for homes or looking for places to live. And scam artists advertise properties they do not own for rent, often on online platforms like Kijiji and Facebook and Marketplace. They use information and photos from real estate listings, so they make it look realistic. And fraudsters may be asked for hundreds of dollars in cash to cover first month's rent and damage deposits after you respond to the ad. So there's some red flags to watch for here as well. And, oh, sorry. And a red flag is a warning sign. So in rental scams, if the monthly rent is lower than other similar places listed in the area, so this one ad is a lot lower than the others that you're seeing, that's likely a scam. If you don't have the ability to see the property in person before they're asking you for a deposit, also a red flag. If you're asked to leave a deposit without any formal agreement or lease in place, so they don't have you sign anything, but they want you to put money down. If you're asked to send money to someone outside the country, if they want you to e-transfer or set up a deposit or meet at a different location than the property that you're renting. So if they're asking you to meet at a coffee shop instead of going to the place you're going to rent, that's a red flag that there could be something wrong. If they ask the potential renter, so you, to ignore for sale signs on the property, if there's spelling errors and typos in the ads, or if they're pressuring you to act very quickly. These are definitely warning signs that something is probably not right. So best practices or things that you should do when you're renting is always beware of those red flags of fraud. Never send money to someone you've never met or only met online. Always ask for a lease, and the lease is the contract. So when you're renting property, it's usually called a lease. And again, review the whole thing. If there's language barriers, ask someone to help you with it. Before signing a rental agreement and paying a deposit, make sure you see the property in person. And if you're not in the country, ask someone you know locally to view the property for you. If there's a for sale sign on the property, make sure you contact the real estate agent who is selling the property and make sure that it's actually for rent. If you plan on renting in something that's still being built, you should contact the builder themselves to confirm who actually owns the building. And you have a lot rights as a tenant as well. So when you rent a property, you're called a tenant. And on the GNB website, so gnb.ca, there's a section called tenant rights, which is TENANT rights. You can look that up to learn more about that. And when purchasing or negotiating something on a site like Kijiji or Facebook, it's always what we'd call buyer beware. So when you use these sites, it's hard to know for sure if you're dealing with a real estate agent or not. So you're better off if you're looking for property to speak with a licensed real estate agent and learn more about what's being offered to you. Credit and debit card scams. The best way to protect yourself here is guard your PIN number. Don't share it with anyone. If someone calls you claiming your credit card has been stolen or someone's bought something with your credit card and they need your PIN number to stop the thief, never share that personal identification number. Your best thing is to hang up and call the number on the back of your card. And this is true of a bank card as well. That way you know you're speaking to someone from the actual credit card company. So to just go over the red flags of fraud again, even if the fraud has different forms, oftentimes we see the same things happening as their what we call tactics or ways that they try to fraud you. Usually the deal is too good to be true. If deep down in your gut, in your stomach, it feels like that can't be right, it probably is. Okay. Things like doubling your money, things are guaranteed, there's no risk. These are all promises that they can't keep. If it's for a limited time, that's also usually a sign it could be a fraud. If the fraudster tries to befriend you, so they want to be your friend, they try to catch you off guard, they call you in the morning or late at night, they prey on your fears or your emotions, like with the grandparent scam, they tell you something's wrong with your loved one. Those are usually things we see in fraud. Or if they ask you to keep it a secret, they don't want you to tell anyone, it's probably because they're scared someone will tell you it's a fraud. Or they want you to pay with what we would call unusual methods. And that includes cryptocurrency, gift cards, wire transfers. If you're not paying in Canadian money or American money, something, a currency that we use here, that's usually a red flag that you want to look into this further. I'm going to go over a few tips for each of the different ways that fraud can reach you. The most important thing on the phone is hang up as soon as you realize it's a fraud. And block the number. Your best defense is to let your machine pick up, leave a message, listen to the message that they leave you, and then decide from there what you should do. Never answer a number that's left on a message if you don't know it or you don't recognize it. If you get a call from someone pressuring you to send money, give out your credit card number, or buy something you don't want, always hang up and never give them more information. In a text message, very similar. Oftentimes they're fake job offers, tax refunds, promise to pay you a lot of money, or they send you a text pretending to be a government agency, like we mentioned earlier. It may sound official, but that's not how these organizations will contact you. Same thing as the phone. If you get a message, don't answer the message. Read it, ask questions about it, go to your own sources and find out if the text is real by calling someone or getting back to them from a method that you're sure it's them. At your door, we've talked about that. Make sure that you've read the contract, that they're licensed with the province, that you're asking lots of questions, and that you don't agree to anything that you don't understand. In the mail, if you get a letter out of the blue that you didn't ask for, so this letter just arrives, it says you've received an inheritance or you won a prize or they're selling you an investment opportunity, definitely be cautious. These scam letters usually come from overseas or other countries. And businesses can also be targeted by phony past due invoices that tell you that you have to make a payment on a service that you never asked for. So again, if it comes to you and you didn't ask for it, ask more questions before you just give any information. Don't just answer the letter either. Even though government officials will send you a letter, you still should ask questions before you give them any information. So go to your own source, reach out to the company that they're claiming to be so that you can be sure you're at the right company before you give them any information. In an email, they can often be fake web addresses, fake email addresses. They're hoping that you're going to click on something and think it's taking you to a real site. It might ask you to put in personal information. These emails often look very real. Sometimes it looks like it comes from someone you know. So if you're not 100% sure, don't reply to the email or click on any links. Contact the company directly or your friend if it's looking like it's from your friend, and ask if they sent you the link before you click on it. In online scams, we need to be really careful when we're online. There's lots of ads for free trials or free gifts, even after you complete a survey or something like that. It could seem like it's a really good idea, but you may be signing up for something and you don't know it. And then you can get an unexpected bill in the mail. So if you have to provide credit card information to pay for free trial shipping or something and handling, be careful. You just need to read all of the fine print before you sign up for anything that's supposed to be free. Scammers often post fake online classified ads or pretend that they're real online stores. They might sell not like products that say a certain brand name, but they're not really from them. So always follow, again, your own source before you fill out anything online. There are a few things to watch for. The email address itself should have an HTTP with an S. And when you see the S at the first of that HTTP with an S, that means that there's security in place. There's often a little icon that shows a padlock as well. These things should be there when there's security in place. If they're not there, definitely do not fill out information on these sites. You're always safer if you're the one putting in the address yourself over clicking on something that was sent to you. So I often have people say to me, is it safe to shop online? And that's where we have to really look at the risk. So if I go online and I type in Amazon.ca and I'm 100% sure I'm on Amazon as an example, and I buy something, if I take the precautions, if I'm sure the security is in place, the risk of a scam is much lower than if I get an email that says there's a great sale on Amazon.ca, click here to take advantage of it. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to Amazon.ca that way. So my risk is much higher. So what I want to leave you with today to really remember in all of these situations is that no matter which way the scam artist reaches you, by the phone, in a text, in an email, or online, or in a letter, all of these ways, if you didn't ask for it and they're wanting information from you, either financial or personal, ask questions, do your research, and really make sure where the information is going before you give out any. And that's going to be your best defense against fraud. So I'm going to leave up, that's our new website. It's called FinFo, which stands for Financial Information. It's got a lot of great information on it about your finances and life stages. Our number to phone us is there. Our email address is there. I want you to take away from this presentation that we need to keep talking about fraud awareness so that we recognize the warning signs, that we feel comfortable and we're not ashamed to talk about it, and that we know where to go for help. Even if you call us and it's not something we regulate, someone will try to point you in the right direction. We're really committed to helping newcomers know that they have rights and here, and we want you to understand what they are. We don't want you to be taken advantage of. And I really hope that this presentation gives you some ideas about how to better protect yourself and that you found it helpful. We're very happy to welcome you to New Brunswick, and I really hope that some of these things will help you feel more confident and more secure when you're dealing with different things and that you can avoid being a victim of a scam. So thanks so much for inviting me. I'll pass it back over to Victoria. I hope I went slow enough. I tried to slow it down.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much, Lisa. That presentation was super, super important and very, very informative, especially for our clients. So I'll open the floor to any questions. We'll take like a few minutes there. You can just type your questions out in the chat.
And I know we talked about a lot of things, like we covered a lot of things. Um, and again, I can't stress it enough, like don't be embarrassed about it. Don't be shy to ask questions. You're a consumer here just like everyone else, and you have the same rights. So don't feel like you're being a bother if you ask so many questions because you want to understand, because that just means you're doing the right things to protect yourself. And it's more important that you're sure what you're agreeing to than, for instance, their feelings being hurt because you're asking too many questions, right? Like we really don't want you to feel like that. If someone makes you feel bad, then that's not good business practice. And maybe you don't want to deal with them anyway, right? So I think if you look at it from that way, that's going to be more helpful to you. You know, don't be shy. Um, be confident in asking the questions that you need to ask to make sure you know what you're getting into.
Sure. Thank you so much. I don't think there are any questions. We just have a
Perfect.
thank you in the chat and that
Oh,
they learned
wonderful.
a lot.
You're
That's
welcome.
great. So yeah, I guess if anybody has any questions, they can email or call the contact information on this on the screen, and also visit the website. And
Absolutely.
with that, I think we're good to end the session. Thank you so much again, everybody, and thank you so much, Lisa, for presenting today.
You're welcome. Thanks
All right.
again. Welcome, and thank you so much for having me today. Take care,
Okay.
everyone.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Bye-bye.